Is there a video or an idea out there that you want to do that it's not possible at the moment, but you got this grand plan?
Should I say it? All right. Well, this one we were going to keep on the wraps till it happened, but I'm going to say it because I'm with you. You're the legend.
All right, it's time to bring our next guest onto the show. This is going to be a lot of fun for me. Cleetus McFarland. He is a YouTube, creator. Something that we do here at Dirty Mo Media. I have a lot to learn about that from him. I can't wait to dig into his approach and just hear his story about how he turned himself into one of the more popular YouTube content creators out there. And he bought this racetrack. He does a lot of crazy stuff. He races, and now he went and ran an ARCA race at Daytona. And so just a lot there. This dude is, and what's next? 29 years old, got the whole world in front of him, got his whole life in front of him. And it seems like the creativity and whatever may come next is limitless. So let's bring him in the room, get started. This is going to be a lot of fun here. Cleetus McFarland on the Dale Jr. Download.
It's been a exciting thing to come meet you.
I know.
Today,
I'm excited to talk to you. I've been watching you. I mean, probably since you bought that racetrack, I've been paying attention to what you're doing.
Oh, yeah? That's cool.
And and I think I kind of, the algorithm showed me the 3 truck and all that stuff for back in the day.
I was curious if you had seen anything.
I'd seen it.
Cool.
Yeah. So, 29 years old. What's your real name?
Garrett Mitchell.
Garrett Mitchell. Where were you born?
Omaha, Nebraska.
When did you start your YouTube page?
2009.
Where were you living then?
Omaha, Nebraska.
What was the motivation behind creating that page?
Well, originally it was my normal name, and I made RC plane and boat videos.
Really?
Yeah, that was
what you were into.
Yeah, and then 2015, July, my buddy called me Cleetus in a total spoof video, just as a joke.
Yep.
And then when that took off, I actually didn't do anything with it for a few years, but I finally decided I wanted to pursue a YouTube carear, and I changed the name of the channel to Cleetus because that's what everyone called me, pretty much.
So the videos of you, the original stuff, that still exists?
Like the RC stuff?
Yeah, all those original videos, right? Yeah. Is that all on the same page?
Yeah.
And so take me back to like when you were like growing that audience and how what was the motivation? What were the milestones you were like, this was a cool moment? Because like I've got some friends that have a few pages and they'll get the plaque or something in the mail about, having a certain amount of followers and so forth. So tell me how you enjoyed that process and how that process grew.
So, when I was young, 10, 12 years old, making the RC plane videos, I purely did it for the process. I liked editing videos and posting something about my airplanes. Yep. I didn't even care if it got views. When I came back, started doing it again, I had been working for a YouTube channel, so I kind of knew how to make a title and thumbnail. We made street racing videos.
Who?
And 1320 Video.
You made racing videos?
So really, the guy I owe my entire career to, his name's Kyle Loftus, owner of 1320 Video, and I filmed a video of a street race. And I showed it to him because he was the only guy with a YouTube channel in town. I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he ended up using the footage in his video. Around this time, Instagram and stuff was coming out. And I said, hey, could I help you do your social media? I'm just in high school, Mm-hmm. And he was like, sure, give it a shot. So for years, I just didn't, work for any money. I just helped him make his stuff. And then I was around the YouTube channel a lot. So I just learned a lot. And he's the one who called me Cleetus in a video, years down the road. I was always behind the camera. And I'll never say this enough. He's the most gracious person I've ever met because if someone, when the video went viral and I became Cleetus, a lot of business owners would say, whoa, let me grab a hold of this deal, see how I can make money off it.
Right.
Kyle helped me spread my wings and create my own thing so that I'm doing what I do today.
Yeah.
And, so when I started my channel, I was working for Kyle in law school because I didn't know what to do with my life. I went to
law school?
Yeah. Made it through college, graduated a year early.
Wait. You got a degree?
Yeah.
In law?
Yeah. No. So I graduated college with an entrepreneurship degree.
That's impressive.
I was terrified of what to do with my life, you know. So I went to law school, Stetson University.
Yeah. Damn.
And about a year and a half in, I was working for Kyle full time.
Yeah.
So every day I would go home from school and work on his videos and his pages and things like this. It was a full-time job at this point. We were killing it. 4 million followers on Facebook.
Damn.
We had like the biggest automotive Facebook page. We were crushing it. And I was watching all these YouTube videos because that's how we would drive content to his page, is posting other people's videos. And I'm like, man, these guys, I could do this. You know, I could make videos like this in my garage. So I asked Kyle, I said, hey, you know the Cleetus thing? Like, think about making some YouTube videos in my garage after school. He's like, as long as it doesn't, you know, affect your work, go ahead. Even, you know, post your links on the page, you know, if you need help getting traction, whatever. So, you know, as you talked about those milestones, you know, I remember the first time I got 100 views overnight. You know, that was a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And I remember when it was 500 views in a night and then 1,000 in a day. And I remember when I hit 10,000 in a day. And I have some really terrible videos on my channel that went super viral because I knew the thumbnail title recipe, right? That's key.
What is the recipe?
So, yeah, that's right, the recipe. The way I look at it is you could have the best video ever made, but if no one goes through the door, what does it matter what's on the other side, right? The door is the title and thumbnail. So, like, my biggest video on my channel is a Corvette C7 exhaust with 4 whistle tips. You know the whistle tip things that you can screw in your exhaust?
Yes.
With 4 of those in each tip. And it's just a picture that makes you say, like, what does that sound like?
Yeah.
And it just says 800 horsepower Corvette versus turbo whistles. And it has 14 million views. The video itself is terrible. But, you know, like, this is back when I had, you know, maybe 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
So, you know, then you enter a whole new thing I call the gauntlet, where you have enough people watching your videos to hate on you so heavily.
Yep.
And until you make it to about 100,000 subscribers, where you get some people that start defending you and say, hey, I kind of like this guy. It's brutal. It is savagery out there. Yeah. Because it also matters if you have a reputation or not. Like the Biff, you know, he's starting a YouTube channel, but he already has an excellent reputation.
We know him, yeah.
Everyone knows him. If you're just some kid making a YouTube channel, the world wants you to fail. You know, the internet wants you to fail for some reason. That's just how it works. So if you can make it through that, I do remember sitting in my room many times thinking, why am I doing this? You know, people are so, they'll bring you down to rock bottom. But then, you know, there was times when I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. You know, I got this silver plaque at 100,000 subscribers, you know. So certainly many milestones in those smaller numbers. Then it gets a little easier. You know, about 100,000, you're not worrying so much if the video is not performing that well because it'll still get, you know, decent bit of views regardless because you're starting to have that fan base.
You have, it's a competitive field, right? Do you look, I mean, so.
that is an interesting question.
So how do you look at it? Because to a lot of people and myself, I think we look at you, I would rather sit down and grab my iPad and sit on the couch and watch YouTube videos than watch TV.
Yeah.
And that's something that took a long time to happen, right? I had, you know, I watched Cheers when I was a kid, Night Court, The Office. I mean, you know, I had all these sitcoms, and that's not the way I spend my time anymore. And so when I go there to watch, I'm getting things in the algorithm that it thinks I want to watch, and there's a lot of automotive stuff. Do you look at that landscape as basically just this wide open prairie, or is it a competitive space? Do you compete?
I have gone down this conversation. You know, I've talked about it many times with friends. I don't think it's so much competition like I have to win over the viewers versus them watching my buddies' videos, because that's never seemed to be the case. It's almost like they'll just watch both.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't know. I've never felt that competition. But I've always driven myself to be like, I want to be the one with the best content there is when it comes to drag racing and stuff. So maybe that's just automatically worked out that way for us. But I don't feel like my neighbor can pull views off of my channel. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Who are some of the people that you respect in the space that do some similar stuff?
Oh, wow.
Or maybe not even that similar, yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of friends that have made channels off of just the most outrageous things you can do, and I have a ton of respect. Obviously, Kyle with 1320 with the street racing stuff and street car stuff. But then there's guys like Whistling Diesel, you know, he's a good friend of mine. He has totally built a channel off of destroying stuff, you know, and a lot of people think he's crazy, but he's taking massive risks. Sometimes he's destroying cars that are worth $300,000 and then banking on the video doing so well he can make his money back. Like, he's making risky business moves, you know, so you got to respect it at the end of the day because he pulls crazy views. And a lot of channels that I respect, you know, the Hoonigan guys built an amazing platform, and man, my buddy JHD, so I'll give it to him. He's done a great job building his channel, and many friends around me have. What are some of the
pitfalls in this business?
I would say some of the pitfalls. People let off the gas when they're at the top.
Really?
And I see that a lot.
What about that's probably common across the board in everything. Being successful in sort of turning going idle at throttle.
Yeah. It happens.
What about like not writer's block, but like creative blocks or
I think YouTubers call it burned out.
Golly, man.
And
how do you handle that?
I've never had that feeling.
You never had it. How do you handle like, I did this, now what's next? How do I do this?
What happens to YouTubers more than often than not is they'll work super hard on a video and then it does poorly, and that brings YouTubers down big time.
Kicking a gut.
And you just have to set the expectation that when you work really hard on a video, that's going to be your worst video of the month. Like, for some reason, that's how it is. And I think getting over that can be tough. You just gotta push through. I always tell the guys, views come and they go. You'll have your best week ever followed by the worst week in the fiscal year. It's just
when I'm working on podcasts, I've learned to like not get really excited about certain bits or certain pieces of content, because it's the stuff that I think that people are going to love. They tend to just go ho hum about, and then there's this thing that we talked about that I didn't think was a big deal at all that they want to know more about, that they draw to.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of unpredictable, but. Is there like a scientific method to the process of what you release, when you release? I know you have to know, like, all right, man, the shorts accomplish this. This is why I do this short. It has this purpose, right? Do you have all? Are you like the man behind the?
Yep. So I edit all the videos. Yeah. I make every thumbnail and title, along with George here, who's my right hand guy. He helps me out on all that stuff, and in the past 2 years, we actually switched from just doing fun stuff and recording it and then posting it to making sure it's a title and thumbnailable idea, then doing the fun stuff and recording it and publishing it. And that's made a significant upgrade to our channel and viewership, because if you just look at the title and thumbnail and it can't make something that him and I in our brain think hits, we just won't do it.
Yeah.
Or we'll do it. We can still do it and just include it in a video that has a title and thumbnailable moment.
Yeah.
And now we just know the recipe. It's more predictable now than it used to be. 8 years ago, I would just do it. If I spun a rod bearing, then I would just have to change the rod bearing, and the video would be titled "Changing a Rod Bearing on Leroy." So that's just what it was.
Yeah.
Now we can actually produce based off what we want that moment to be.
Yeah. Is there a video or an idea out there that you want to do that it's not possible at the moment, but you got this grand plan?
Should I say it? It's Dale Jr.'s podcast. I got to say it. All right. Well, this one we were going to keep under wraps till it happened, but I'm going to say it because I'm with you. You're the legend. It's happening. It's going to be a little bit longer, but we're building a redneck aircraft carrier.
Really?
Out of pontoon boats that I'm going to land my airplane on.
What?
Yeah. We're pretty excited about it.
What kind of airplane?
Carbon Cub.
Okay. What's the runway performance on that?
I mean, well,
are you going
the aircraft carrier is going to be underway.
It's going to be moving.
We're going to get some headwind off of that.
You got a cable? You going to stop the plane with a cable? How are you going to get this thing from going off?
That's right. We're going to put an arresting cable on
it.
Well, I compete in like stole competitions. Won one recently in this plane, right? It's a high performance, extremely lightweight.
What kind of competition?
Stole, short takeoff and landing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
you compete in competitions doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, dude.
So this plane, I mean, on a good day, it can get off in 60 feet. Pretty much just in its normal weight. But if we take it down to nothing,
how many pontoons do you need?
I think we're just doing 3.
3.
So the ship's only going to be 60 feet long.
How fast is it moving?
Well, we're hoping to get her to go about 15 knots.
Yep, and that'll create
plus a headwind.
Yeah, plus the headwind. That'll create the landing performance.
We think we got it. Yeah, it can land like nothing, especially with an arresting hook.
That's wild. Yeah.
So I'm excited that's out there now. That's good. And if you're the FAA, give us a minute. We're going to give you a call about this.
Are you? Yeah. Do you have to handle all that legal stuff too? I mean, is it because it's...
Yeah.
You ran into some issues in the past?
Oh, yeah. I get calls from the FAA a lot, but we really do follow the rules. Like, I take aviation safety serious. Something like that idea might sound crazy, but worst case, I end up in the water. My airplane's going to float, and I'll get out.
Yeah.
The airplane's going to be wet. We'll fix that, but it's really not a dangerous situation in my opinion. So,
you're married?
Yes, sir.
Kids?
Yep, 2 kids. My beautiful wife, Maddie, and we have a 11-month-old and a 2-year-old.
My gosh. All right.
Boy and a girl.
When you had kids, I know it's still new, but did that affect your risk-taking ability?
Yes. I definitely think about them more. There wasn't, you would think about your wife and, your life, but your kids pull a different cord.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
Sure does.
I think the last time, the most significant times I think about them is when I'm in my drag car that goes 250.
Yeah.
250 is fast.
That's fast.
And I think about them when I'm in that. But all the other stuff, as dangerous as it does seems pretty calculated.
Right.
The aircraft are inherently dangerous. We have the best equipment you can get. We use the best service centers. We don't work on them ourselves for the most part, besides the Carbon Cub. So I feel pretty good about everything we do, but the drag car 250 is getting it, and that's on its low side, it can do 270. So
how often are you messing with that thing?
We pull her out. We just got that one, the one I'm referring to done. It's called Eagle, and I don't know. We'll probably run it a dozen times this year.
Do you just take it out and do appearances?
We go to competitions,
right? Competitions you enter and try to perform.
Yep.
You're not just showing up and doing a celebrity appearance?
We don't do any appearances.
No appearances.
We only go for racing.
Yep.
So.
All right, so let's talk about the racetrack.
Yep.
What was DeSoto?
It was formerly known as DeSoto, now the Freedom Factory. Yes,
what would have happened to this track if you hadn't bought it?
Well, funny you ask that, because the week I bought it, the developer that now is developing behind the track came to me and tried to buy it that week and offered me, I think it was $1 million more than I bought it for, which at the time to me was, it's still a significant amount of money, but like it made my eyebrows rise because I was like, maybe I should do this.
Right, sure.
It would be part of the development, no doubt. So right now behind our tracks,
how are you fighting that though? Because that's the problem.
Yeah. So
I think I saw you talking about that recently.
Yeah, the commissioners, our local commissioners, approved a massive housing development behind our tracks
recently,
which is crazy because if you had the nicest development in the around, you wouldn't let them build a racetrack next to it, right? That's just common sense.
And that happened recently, right?
So the commissioners approved it. Yeah, this is all while I owned it, and they approved it. And now I think one of those commissioners is still in office. So they all get their money and go do something else, whatever. So now we're dealing with it. All the homeowners have to sign this agreement that says, I understand there's a very loud racetrack and I'm moving next to it. I cannot sue them. I cannot sue the owners.
Do you play
Who knows?
good in terms of the hours you operate?
Yeah. We definitely try to be
Yeah,
respectful to our neighbors. Yeah. I mean,
you're doing it right.
I mean, I can hear them from my house, but we just had top fuel there. So it's like where they're putting these houses, it's going to rattle their windows.
Sure. You got the oval track and the drag strip?
Yes, sir. I own 50% of the drag strip, and then I own the oval myself.
So why did you want to buy that? Were you looking for a place to operate, and it just so happened to also be a racetrack, and you're like, well, damn, that's kind of a bonus?
I wasn't really looking for a racetrack.
Where were you living then?
Tampa.
How did you get to Tampa?
Well, the drag strip. I lived in Tampa because I went to University of Tampa.
So you moved from where you were born.
I said
and went to college, and you stayed.
I went to college in Tampa and stayed because you can do car stuff all year round.
Okay, and so when did you find the track?
I found the track the drag strip I just went to automatically when I moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. So it was about an hour drive. And when the YouTube stuff started getting busier, and I'm sure you've seen the video where I got pulled over in the 3 truck.
Yeah.
That stuff was starting to get frowned upon by YouTube ads, things like that.
What do you mean?
Yeah, if you go out on the street and just do straight illegal
stuff,
activities,
YouTube tries to.
It's kind of hard to not do it, when you're doing the content that I do. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I need a playground, and I was working with the drag strip.
Wait. So YouTube will frown on that and try to suppress your success on that.
If you're out just.
But that wasn't illegal. That truck was legal.
I guess
truck was street legal.
Yeah,
the guy didn't ticket you.
Yeah, he didn't ticket me. But it was just one of those things. It's a bad look for all your sponsors and stuff, and you don't want to hurt somebody, whatever. So we it didn't click at all. But the Desoto had been sitting there for years, shut down because several reasons: bankruptcy, a couple times, a driver that passed away, things like that. So I drove by. I mean, the place was a dump. But one day it clicked in my brain as I started doing these burnout events called Cleetus and Cars. I was like, man, if you think about it, it's just a little stadium. If it had a burnout pad in the middle, it'd be a little burnout stadium. Mm-hmm. So I called my best friends, Victor and Alan, and we got a hold of the owner, and he basically named the price and wouldn't budge. This guy was on it.
Yeah.
But it was $2.2 million. He owner financed $1 million on it, which my last payment is this month.
You're still paying on it.
Well, the owner finance part, yeah. And then Alan loaned me $400,000.
You didn't have this money.
I didn't have the money, and then I sold my Porsche Turbo S that I had, 2011. We just sold everything we had, gathered it all up, and I literally went to that closing with everything I had.
Damn it.
Every dollar I had. And this was December 19, and then COVID hit. My master plan of having all my fans out to make some money really
took a while.
Really crushed me.
Yeah.
Actually.
So how did you? Was it hard? I guess to get through the next couple of years.
Well,
with having basically,
I can tell you that. That month, my IRS check bounced. My quarterly prepayment that I gave in December hit. I didn't realize it hadn't left my account. It hit a week after closing, and my bank went to negative 90,000 or whatever, and then it bounced. The IRS is calling me. I'm literally so stressed. I thought I was sick. And COVID's hitting, and I'm trying to gather it up. I'm trying to make payroll for my guys.
How many people you got?
At this point, I had 3 employees, James Cooper and our merch girl. Trying to gather it up. I'm trying to sell some T-shirts, because that YouTube check comes once a month. You probably know that. And trying to make it to the YouTube check. We make it. We're getting through there. COVID literally hits as I'm gathering it up. And I was laying in bed at night just really stressed out. Just all-time low, honestly. Rock bottom. And I'm thinking, how are we going to buy some of these parts we want to put on Leroy to get him back going and whatever. And I thought, what if I do a Crown Vic race? I'll buy 20 Crown Vics from state auction, and we'll do a pay-per-view.
Where did the Crown Vic idea come from?
It just came to me in bed, and I just
How are you going to get the money to go buy these crowns?
I called Alan, my business mentor, and I was like, brother, I need 20 grand or whatever. And
how much was the Crown Vic?
We got him.
One.
This is unbelievable. We averaged $900 at the state auction.
That's awesome.
So me and JH and my buddy Chad went to the state auction, and I don't know if Alan had to give me that 20 grand. I think I had got a YouTube
I've always
check,
wondered where you get 20 Crown Vics from.
Yeah, we bought 20 that day, and we didn't do anything to them. They're on their tire, the same tires that came from the auction. We didn't change it. We didn't even check the fluids.
Yeah.
Some of my friends that I invited to this race, I advertised I'm doing a race, and this is COVID was hitting, so like
I remember this.
Getting so much scrutiny from the town.
Why? Because you're gonna have a race.
Because
they're like, wait, what?
We're gonna have more than 10 people on the property. That was the law they had just set. I thought I had COVID because I was so stressed out. I was so scared of getting arrested and this and that. And my dad also got some paperwork from an attorney that said they had to have a warrant to come on the property because the sheriff was calling us, telling us they're going to arrest me if I have more than 10 people on the property.
How were you able to? I mean, that was some weird rule they had in place.
You guys didn't have, when COVID hit, you were only allowed 10 people.
I got you. No, yeah. I mean, I'd never heard of that. But I believe
you guys didn't get that?
No.
Oh, in Florida, it was like 10 people per property or something.
Damn. Okay.
So, but it was like 10 people per acre. But we had 40 acres. So I'm like, all right, so we had to spread out and we had to make it look good on camera because if you remember, like people were losing their minds.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
People were calling me like Cleetus COVID super spreader and stuff. It was, and I didn't really know what to think because I didn't know if COVID was real or not.
Right.
Like I was kind of terrified that I was going to go to like prison for this deal. So anyway, we hosted the first ever Freedom 500 that night, and they initiated the lockdowns for the day of my race. The local town did, so we moved it up a day. And whatever, we got all my friends show up. Some of them even flew from California on a plane with like one person on it. This is like literally when COVID was going down.
Yeah.
And we hosted the race, and I had no idea if it was sticking or not, if they even had the stream up, if the website was holding anything. I didn't know. Alan was just radioing me from the car, kind of telling me things are okay. I guess the stream was pretty botched, but my fans were like, it was the most pleased thing ever. So I get out of the car, and I don't think I've ever said this online before ever, but I get out of the car, and I'm thinking there's probably 10,000 people on or something, and I actually won the race.
Yeah.
And I get out of the car, and I run over to Alan. I go, did the stream stay up, And I'm getting chills saying it. I go, did the stream stay up? And he goes, Garrett, there were 75,000 people on the stream. And I remember just like being so mind blown that we had just made a monumental amount of money and successfully like saved what everything I thought was all crashing down in that moment. And I didn't get all that money because we partnered with the stream company and stuff. So like, some mistakes made there, but like what an amazing feeling to go from like rock bottom to like we actually pulled off this Freedom 500.
Damn.
Really, really one of the probably best moments of my life, I would say.
Since then, you've had this race multiple times. You have it annually.
Yep. So
and
now
it's grown into something that, it's kind of, I don't know if you know this, but it's kind of become a common knowledge in our industry. Like,
yeah, I was curious if you knew about it.
Oh yeah,
I have reached out, through a lot of avenues, obviously to try to get you to race.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been hit up about it.
Yeah.
So it's become fun. We do the Freedom 500 in April, and then we do the Indy 800 in May.
What's the Indy 800?
It's Luke's Oil Raceway. We go to Indy.
We take
all the Crown Vics to Indy.
Oh,
we do Luke's
Where?
Oil.
Lucas Oil.
Luke's Oil Raceway.
Oh yeah.
So we had Tony Stewart race the last one.
Yep.
And then we take the Crown Vics up to Stafford Speedway in Connecticut. We did Bristol. We're not doing Bristol this year.
Yep.
And then we do Les Mullets back at my track again.
What is that?
At the end of the year. It's like the kidney bean shape. So you run the front straight.
Yes.
And then you come into the infield and then
what
back
cars?
out.
The Vics.
Same Crown Vics all year.
So these are your cars.
Yeah. I own them all, and all the drivers show up. It's zero pressure.
Yep.
I don't even care if they post about it. All my buddies post about it because they're just great people. But, like, you know, when we have celebrities on, you know, great guys like you or Greg Biffle, like, it's literally zero pressure. As long as we can say you're on the driver's list,
Sure.
That's all I need.
Yep.
I'm not going to put out an ad that says, you know, Greg Biffle's coming to the Freedom 500. We just have them out. They get in the car. They can have their fun. They can wad it up and leave. But it's not a demolition derby.
No.
It's just if you do wad it up, don't feel bad about it.
Right.
It's just they're Crown Vics.
You share a car?
Late Mullets, you share a car. The rest of the season, it's all one driver per race.
It's pretty interesting. The track, you've had to do maintenance on this track.
Yeah,
This thing was wore out, busted up when you got it.
Exactly. So the pay-per-view money, I mean, I don't think I've ever pocketed from the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It has all gone back into the program and the racetrack. The lights alone were $440,000 to do lights and poles. The bleachers were upwards of $350,000, and I have just spent all the money we get from the pay-per-view basically ever since, just building the track and now the drag strip. And
how close do you live
cars?
to that?
5 miles.
You now have super late model races there.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
It's ripping.
Ripping.
It's ripping.
What is that experience like for you to have a traveling touring division come to your racetrack and do
really
something
cool.
completely unique to like the content you're creating? I always looked at that racetrack as like that's your workshop.
Yep.
And that if all you did there was what you do and your Crown Vics and all that stuff, that would be the sole purpose of the property.
Yeah.
But now you've introduced true touring racing with super. So what?
The track can absolutely self-sustain with just our events.
Yep.
But I love the motorsport industry, you know, and like I want circle track racing to thrive.
Is that super late model race the only one you have right now?
No, I mean just this weekend.
How many?
Just this weekend while I was racing ARCA, we had Crown Vics racing and we had Sportsman's and
so there's some local classes that compete?
Yeah, but we don't do like a weekly program.
No.
At the drag strip we do weekly test and tunes, but
what does the Oval do?
The Oval we don't do weekly. The Oval runs, we do like Tour of Destruction. We do, have you heard of the Bigley?
No.
Okay, we do the Bigley, which is a big race on Thanksgiving with late models and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's like 90 cars.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So we've allowed some really good outside promoters to come in and rent the track. It's more of a partnership.
They buy the track for the weekend.
It's a partnership.
And
So we still run in front of the house and stuff.
Gotcha.
And we just let them handle the race because, you know, the moment.
How many, I guess that's been going on for just a couple of years now.
Yeah, we didn't open the track, start doing that stuff until about 2 years ago. We were trying drifting and some other stuff. And
how have you enjoyed doing those things? Does it hurt? Is it
like just having them there?
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely make some money and they bring new people to the track because some people don't care for my stuff. You know, they don't care for the Crown Vic kind of thrill show. They want to see real racing.
Yeah.
So it's great to have the real racers come out. And they also offer opinions on the track repairs and things like that, which is nice.
Yep.
It makes the back of the pits busier, and I think it helps the industry, and I think it's great. You know, it definitely helps us. Works great for us.
What does your wife think about all this?
You know, my wife's been very supportive of it all. She's been around. Her and I started dating after I started my YouTube channel, but before the track.
Yep.
So when I wanted to do the track deal, we were just dating, so she didn't know how deep in the finances I was.
Yeah.
I've taken her down to zero. You know, I've taken my stuff down to zero twice, and she was cool though. She bought me dinner when I was when the bank account was negative and stuff, and she's just always been there for me.
Yeah.
She knows I'll figure it out.
So let's talk about. I guess let's bring this to racing in the ARCA series. You know, you did the Crown Vic races at Bristol, and I guess from my perspective, seeing you do that was kind of the first time where I was like, man, I bet this guy starts trying to do some legitimate racing. Like, I bet I could tell your gears were turning in your head, and you're like, I want to really get in real I want to get in a real competitive competition environment.
Yeah.
Outside of what you had created for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, we compete really well in drag racing, so that's always been fun. And circle track, the Crown Vics are great, but I was like, man, talking to George, I was like, we should go race NASCAR.
Yeah.
How freaking cool would that be? And it just so happened that I met Greg Biffle earlier this year due to a software issue, at Southwest. Like, one of my racers, Brad DeBerti, couldn't come because of that software outage.
Uh-huh.
And then he called me. He was like, hey, do you know who Greg Biffle is? I was like, I kind of do. And then Greg and I met, and he's just the greatest guy ever. And then that's how I got my door into NASCAR.
Yeah.
And I figured, let's try this ARCA thing out. And now my mind is blown.
Had you done anything in motorsport beyond that, outside of what what we've seen with your Crown Vics and drag racing and all of that? I mean,
so
you ran a late model race anywhere? Or?
No, I ran Sportsman's, but I've done at my track.
Yeah. What's your sportsman car look like?
I just rented one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's like a late model.
I think
just
it's
a different engine and stuff.
They're a little slower, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've done. I raced on dirt at Bristol.
Yep.
I drove a late model at Bristol on dirt for a few laps.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, with the hunt in the front, and then I've done. I used to do autocross when I was younger.
What is that?
Autocross is like cones in a parking lot.
Yes.
Yep. That's just fun stuff. And I've competed in drifting. Drag racing, obviously there's no turning. It's pretty simple driving, but I've just done a number of random different automotive things.
Yeah.
And so this is definitely the most serious.
And so when did the conversation turn real?
Well, I hit up the Biff, Mr. the Biff. I said, brother, how do I get in I want to race the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Is what I told him.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you got to start in ARCA. And I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard ARCA. To be honest with you, I haven't watched a NASCAR race in 5 years unless I was at the race cheering on my buddy Alex Bowman.
Gotcha.
Just drinking beer with my sleeves cut off.
Alex has come out to your place and done some of the stuff for you, run your Crown Vics or something.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And Greg kind of explained a little bit to me. He said there's this ARCA series. It's where you got to start. And we went and visited a team, tried to sit in some cars that don't fit in a Gen 4 ARCA car. So then we had to find a Gen 5 ARCA car with the Rhett Jones Racing dudes. And then they were like, I guess their driver fell through or something. Mm-hmm. And Bowman calls me, says, hey, this team I know, they got some fast stuff.
Yeah.
So I flew up, I fit in their car. And then they told me the pricing. I got it, a sponsor and stuff. And I said, let's do Daytona.
That was that.
Now we're just doing it.
Yep. You went to the test. All right.
Went to the test, yeah.
So that climbing into the car to run the laps at the test are your first laps.
Yep.
Describe your emotions.
Well, I can tell you when I got on that back straight and, went into third and then fourth, and they, Biffle told me to stay wide open. Mm-hmm. He's like, you don't have to lift, I was like, damn, this is awesome. And, when that thing's singing 7,400, 7,500, that baby's singing, and it's just a sick feeling. Yeah. You're just bombing out, and your spotter's talking to you. I'm like, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was unbelievable, and that feeling was incredible, man. I can't really.
I remember when my dad took me to Talladega. I had ran some short track stuff at Myrtle Beach and like little half-mile bull ring stuff, like your track.
Yeah.
Dad's like, get your helmet and your suit and get on the plane in the morning, and it's going to bring you to Talladega. He was down there testing. But I didn't know what I was going to do, but I had an idea. But pull it out on the racetrack, and I'm going down the back straightaway, and he told me, he's like, got to hold it wide open. You got to hold it wide open. If you lifted, you were going to burn the piston the way they had it jetted back then with those engines. And so he made me scared to lift, right? I was going to burn the damn piston.
Yeah.
And so I'm going down the back straightaway, and I was like, I don't know how it sticks. Like, I'm looking at the turn 3 way out in front of me going that way, and I'm like, how does it stay?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking in my mind. I'm like, and you go in the corner, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, when it's pressing you down,
yes,
and your whole body is tense. I remember in the test, I felt like I ran 2 miles after 4 laps because my whole body was just flexed.
Yes.
And I'm just in there with my big old neck getting bent over.
Yep. You run the first handful of laps with like every muscle in your body tense.
Just flexed.
Flexed. And when I would go to Atlanta, even 20 years into my career, like I still ran the first 5 or 10 laps at Atlanta like that. And I would I'd run 5 or 10 laps on Thursday or Friday morning in Atlanta, slow down to come to pit road, and my hands hurt because I had to hold the wheel so hard, and I had no clue, and you're like, God dang.
Yeah, it's a feeling that's like really no other.
It is.
I like to think I've experienced almost every motorsport, or I'm getting close. I've probably done 75% of them or something. I've done sprint boats and helicopters and you name it. And I would say that ripping Daytona is like a significant step above all other driving experiences I've had.
When you get into the race and, I'm sure like everything's coming at you a million miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And trying to understand like the draft. And I'm sure that in your mind you have a concept with things that you've done in the past, silly stuff. Like I think I always tell people when drivers are going out to Daytona stuff, I describe the draft as like a wake of a boat, but it's coming off the nose of the car instead of the back of the boat, right?
Yeah.
And so the car in front of you is making a wake. And so, I mean, I'm sure while you're out there racing, like you're computing all of this
I was trying to see the air.
Yeah, you're like, oh, God, I'm learning this. I think that's working. I think that's happening, and I think I understand why that did that. And so talk about, I guess, I really am curious as to understanding, like, as you're going through that process of being in the draft and trying to, like, be you're excited, you're trying to learn, you know you need to be a little patient. But
and I'm trying to
God dang, man.
We got a lot riding on it. The whole team's excited. My grandmas are there.
You must have been like, your mind must have been in like a rubber band going back and forth between like how excited you were, but also like how calm you needed to stay, right?
Yeah, and I got so much great advice from Greg and the team and Max, and my car sucked up good, so I had some room to get off the guys, and then if I wanted to, I could just drive right up into them. Mm-hmm. So I was really happy about that, but computing was definitely a factor because the cars were moving so much around me.
Dude, you were talking about that in the in-car during the stream where I was watching this car. There was early in the race, or I don't know when it was, but there was a car in front of you. Mm-hmm. The driver was just not very good at just holding they were chasing the car in front of them. I think
people are so tense.
Yeah. But one of the things, this happens on sim racing online too, is you're trying to draft the car in front of you and you chase it. If that car moves, you go, and it ends up looking like this little snake. And the car, they look terrible because they're not, they just need to, it's okay to be a little offset here and there as the lap is happening. It's just hold the wheel.
Yeah.
And the guy in front of you, it was making me nervous.
Yeah, I was nervous about that. Yeah. And I don't know if it's my car was just different. Yeah. But like I just held my steering wheel straight and that thing drove
and it looked like the person in front of you was having a hard time.
Yeah. And then
I was wondering how you were.
I was getting, even I was looking out my door and like.
That was right before you got clipped off of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
which was wild.
that car you're speaking of is ultimately what took me out. But like even there was someone outside of me and I'm just watching them close it to 1 foot, back and forth 1 foot. And I'm like, damn.
Hold the damn wheel.
Like this is kind of, this isn't ideal.
Do you think back like when you're, hindsight's, one thing, but do you think like, damn, I knew I should have got out of there?
Absolutely.
God,
I've been thinking about that for the last few days.
I know. You'll never forget it.
I knew when she, that her tire was smoking and she was going into 1 and 2 bombing out, and I was just chasing them right up in there. What the hell was I doing? I should have just stopped and waited for the caution because we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But who knows? It could have been freaking oil dripping on the header, and that was the smoke. So I just went up in there, and I think that's just my inexperience, the foolishness to just go, because I'm like, I can't get any farther behind the pack than this. I don't want to lose.
Right? Yeah, you lose the draft.
Should have been patient. I should have been patient.
No, I thought that was. I listened to your post-race interview, and I appreciated you saying, I was inexperienced, and
Oh yeah.
Like I like people that are honest about certain things like that. You've got to be you, and you were right in that moment, but you also gave us a human moment when you said that would have been better had I had more experience. Next time I will, time I will have that experience.
I try to always have that like factor of, because I am inexperienced in most of the sports I do, and you just can't be good at this by doing it. It's like being a pilot. You can't be good at it unless you've just done it a lot. I'd be a fool to say, everyone's like, Cleet, you need a cup ride. I'm like, brother, I'd be a fool to go race with them right away because I just don't have the experience to do it. They would walk all over
I know
me.
it's early because you're probably still processing the financials and all that stuff. And but when it's all said and done, was this I know you had fun. I know you enjoyed it, and I know the content that you create around it's probably going to be
it's crushing. It's
probably going to measure all the things that you're just going to do everything you want. When it's racing's expensive.
Sure is.
When you close the door on Daytona, are you eager and excited to try to recreate another opportunity? You talked about going to Talladega.
Yeah, I'm going to Dega.
You're going to Dega.
Going to Dega.
You're going to figure it out.
Yeah,
you're going to figure out how to get there.
We're good for Dega.
You're good for Dega.
And we're actually building some content around it on the YouTube channel that'll cover it. So
we're going to see you race again this year.
Yeah, should I say what we're doing for Dega? Okay.
Oh, son of a bitch. We don't get everything.
We're going to Dega. So
yeah.
And I don't know, man. It's like a part of me wants to jump. Don't get me wrong. There's some good drivers in ARCA. I really think there's some great drivers. But with all the crashing, it's like it's all everyone talks about is, I got a 50% chance of finishing because ARCA's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this. I don't know where you're going, but in the trucks in Xfinity, I think it's 80%.
It's as bad?
It's worse.
So so that's a factor I've been thinking about is like, how will this pan out for my viewers if I can never finish a race?
Yeah.
And me. I don't know how I'll feel after.
That's the risk you take when you race at Daytona and Dega. I mean, Daytona and Dega are going to have that high.
They got the high risk.
High risk, and it's not there's nowhere you can go in terms of a different series to escape it. I don't believe.
Well, Talladega is wider, so hopefully that'll be better. But I love the super speedways. Like there's something that attracts me to them, so that's why I want to race them. But they're also the ones you crash the most at.
Yeah.
But so I don't know what to do on that front.
I would just go to Dega and try to hope for a better result.
That's what I was thinking.
Do you think that you would do other races though? Do you? Because
I don't know, man. It's like if I do.
So get your ARCA car or any ARCA car for that matter, and take it over to your racetrack and just cut laps.
Yeah.
Go and cut enough laps. It'd probably take you a week, and you'd be like, I think I've found the limit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go run these short tracks with these guys.
I know. Well, there's a factor for me too that the short tracks for pulling in viewership too. Like Talladega.
Oh, I know.
Everyone's watching that.
But everybody would watch you.
So I gotta mentally weigh that. I
would watch you run Talladega, but I think I would be just as excited to see you go run, Winchester.
Well, there's there's really no risk in me finding out if my fans are into that or not.
Well, I'm thinking
they'll tell me. They'll say, we don't like.
Well, let me ask you this: so you're going to get in a tricky spot where you're going to have to manage.
I think I'm already in it.
You're going to have to manage You're going to have to manage at some point, like the business decision.
Yeah.
Right. Of like, all right. Am I a race car driver?
Yeah.
Or what do I want to be here? What am I trying to freaking?
That.
Yes. But I mean, you probably already.
Yeah.
You got a handle of that, I imagine, because of what you're doing and other things. I almost forget that you drag race, that you got the airplane, that you do all these other things. I see you like singularly as this guy that owns this racetrack and races and cars and runs in circles.
Which I get,
You're not.
That's the stuff that creeps into your world a little bit. So
you're not just that's like a tenth of you.
Our best performing videos have nothing to do with competition racing.
Well, you're going to get you got the bug.
I got the bug bad though, because I'm fired up to go super speedway racing. That stuff's badass.
Well, if that's what it is, that's what it is, and you run 2-3 races a year. It's Daytona and Talladega, and that's the content you make, and you get your scratch your itch. Yeah,
and that might scratch my itch, or I might do good in Talladega and say, screw it, I'm running the season. I really don't know.
Yeah,
it's
doable.
It's the beauty of being a YouTuber is we really can we can wait and just pivot whenever we want. So that's one thing we're really lucky to have.
Hey, everybody, you want the latest Dale Jr. download apparel? Visit shop.dirtymomedia.com. We're always adding new stuff all the time, especially like when we say something silly on this show. We'll put it on a t-shirt. Again, check it out. at shop.dirtymomedia.com. If you're a diecast collector like me, then you're excited about the start of a new race season. That's because now is the time when race teams are unveiling their new paint schemes. There's a lot of new diecast on order, and it's also when new cars start to deliver from Lionel Racing, the official diecast of NASCAR. Whether you have Junior Motorsports First Cup Series diecast already on pre-order, or you're excited about Noah Gragson's move to Front Row Motorsports, or maybe Chase Elliott's new sponsor, Amazon Prime, there are a ton of exciting things happening in NASCAR this season. And what's so great about a diecast collection is that it can tell the story of it all like no other collectible can. To help kickstart your 2025 diecast collection, Lionel Racing has a special offer for Dale Jr. Download listeners. Get free U.S. shipping on your next order when you use the promo code DOWNLOAD25 at LionelRacing.com. That's free shipping with the promo code DOWNLOAD25. That's download with the number 25 at LionelRacing.com. I want to ask you, too, about your relationship with Greg and your experience. And I know you shared this on some other shows, too, about helping in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
When did you and Greg connect?
So
originally,
yeah, Microsoft outage caused Brad DeBerti to not make it to the
and Greg comes to your
Stafford race.
How did that get y'all together in Carolina?
So Greg came to the race. We talked briefly a couple minutes before the race, and then he rolled out right after. So that was like our whole interaction.
I got to ask you, what happens after the race? After the Vic race at DeSoto, or at the Freedom?
Usually, tell
me.
I mean, usually we tear it up in the pits.
Yeah. How late?
We all hang. I don't go as late as I used to because I go home because the next day is really the one I got to work at.
Why?
Because we do the Burnout show the day after.
Well, that's a problem. You got to have you don't need nothing going on the next day.
I know.
Put the Burnout show the day before the Vic race.
We're thinking about changing up the schedule a little bit.
If I'm coming all the way to Florida, I'm gonna want to hang out and drink some beer.
Dale, if you come to the Freedom 500, which by the way, it's April 4th, and you have an invite, we'll build you a car, Brandy. I'll even wrap it Dirty Mo Media. So I just need you to tell me yes or no after this or whatever. But if you come, I won't even sleep.
Oh, all right. We'll see.
I'll stay awake till the next day. That's a guarantee. If you listen to this, if you come to the Freedom 500, I won't wear sleeves for a month.
I couldn't believe it.
I'll cut them off. They're gone for a month.
I couldn't believe Greg left. I was like, you go all the way down there and you don't hang out? Because I know Greg would. Greg would have a couple cold beers.
He was racing at that other race in Limestones. Lime Rock. That's where he went.
If I come down there, I'm going to have so much adrenaline. I'll be like, crush some beers after.
I'm telling you, it's going to be some of the most fun you've ever had. It's so fun because it's not a lot of pressure, and you're just having a damn good time. Yeah. So we would love to have you.
Sorry, we got off on that. So how did you and Greg reconnect?
So literally, I get a call from a helicopter buddy. He said, "Hey man, like I tried to get into these mountains. I guess there's a lot going on. I couldn't get in because of the weather, but tomorrow, they're saying they need help." My wife and I were taking the helicopter we just rebuilt to dinner. We bought it from Venezuela. I don't know if you know the story. No. That blue MD 500 I have, I bought it from Venezuela. Hadn't flown in 10 years. We fully rebuilt it on the channel and just got it done. It had like 5 hours on it or something, so I'm still doing the real thorough pre-flights on it, getting it, she's running good. Yeah.
How did you get a license?
I've already had my license. So I got my license in 2020. Yeah. Just because I've always loved helicopters. I was making videos with them when I was a kid, Yep. And now that I had a little bit of money, I said, I'm getting me a helicopter. Yep. So the MD was just a new project. I already had a helicopter. So I say to Maddie, I go, hey, like this is a call I just got. She's giving me the look, which you have a wife, the look of you're about to leave home for
a while,
a couple days. Yeah. Huh? And I just said, why don't you come with me? Let's go to dinner in North Carolina because it's only 4 hours to get to you guys in a helicopter that is fast, which is what we got. So we flew up, and how
many fuel stops? None.
I think just one. Yeah, just one fuel stop in that thing.
What do you if you're flying 4 hours? What's your altitude?
We're flying about maybe 500 to 1,000 AGL above the ground, just chilling. Unless there's a huge tailwind, I won't really go up high.
Gotcha.
But we're cruising in, and all of a sudden I'm like, there's no power. I'm like, it's black because it's nighttime now.
Oh, shoot.
I'm like, it is black. And I made a post of my helicopter at the fuel station or even on my pad at home or whatever, and I said, heading to North Carolina to see what's going on. And when we landed, it had like 10,000 shares. And I'm like, what? And my phone is exploding with my friends saying, I can't get a hold of my grandparents in Asheville or whatever. I'm like, what the heck? And then, so we're flying, and I'm like, and Biffle texts me too. And he only has my phone number because of that race.
Yeah.
But we'd only talk for 2 minutes, whatever. He says, hey, if you want to come stay at the house, that's fine. I said, no, don't worry. I already booked a hotel. And I was just going to land at the hotel or whatever in the parking lot next to it or something. And because it's, these crisis situations, you kind of get off the hook on where you landed your helicopters and whatnot.
More.
Well, the power's out in the whole Greenville area. Like, imagine you're just rolling in and all the lights stop. Mm-hmm. And I didn't expect that. So I had to call Biffle because the hotels were closed. And I go land in his yard.
In Lake Norman?
Or actually, I think I landed at Statesville that night, but then his yard the next night. And we just got dinner, made a game plan. This is him and I hanging out for the first time, essentially.
Ever.
And I realized in that moment that this dude is selfless. He's a guy that's willing to help people and go out of his way. We didn't know what we were getting into in the morning. I had put out my email, and I had probably 1,000 emails. My wife and I went through them systematically, marked them down on our ForeFlight, and in the morning we took off with water bottles that Greg had filled to the roof in the back of the helicopter, went in under this little cloud layer, and were just blown away at the damage that we saw. We immediately stopped, helped some people, dropped off the water, pulled some people out, got back in town, and I'm like, where was their cell service? And I just started calling people, got more helicopters, and we just flew all day for the next couple days, just helping people.
I guess what you said about Greg being selfless, none of us knew that about Greg until recently.
Yeah.
When you're competitors on the track, you think of each other as very selfish.
Yeah.
And God, I like Greg, but we race against each other. We're jerks.
Yep.
But we've learned just what kind of person he truly is down in the gut.
Yeah.
But I wondered, I guess, how dangerous that must have been for you all to be flying. I know you probably want to downplay it, but
it's the most dangerous flying you can do.
Yeah, over the course of the days, as more and more and more helicopters showed up, right? You guys are all
bad weather.
Yeah, flying all around each other and just in these terribly hilly conditions.
Incredible about that too is that there was 0 GA general aviation accidents in the whole thing. How? Yeah. I don't understand. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
how much traffic control did you have, if at all?
Just in the vicinity of the airport.
Right.
That's it.
And once you left that area,
once you're 4 miles out,
you're on your own.
Now, my helicopter has traffic systems in it, but not everybody does.
Right.
And also, too, a lot of guys are in low-powered helicopters, right? In a race car, you run out of horsepower, you just stop at that speed. In a helicopter, you run out of horsepower, the rotor slows down. So that was scary enough seeing these low-powered piston helicopters around. But, brother, nobody wadded one up. I cannot. When I left, there was like 70 helicopters there, and I thought, there's no way there won't be an article later this week about one going down. There's just no way. Somehow all the pilots just did a fantastic job, and they're all it's amazing. But like you said, the dangerous flying, I mean, when you're hovering high above the ground, like to say there's a bunch of trees, you got to go right down on it. That is the most vulnerable position you can be in a helicopter, and we did it so many times. And then we're just pulling people out, so then you're going out heavy,
right?
And when you have a high performance helicopter, it's fine. But like if anything goes wrong, you're toast. There's FOD everywhere. Like there's just debris and stuff
flying everywhere. Yeah,
it was a recipe for disaster. But I don't know if God was on our sides for all these pilots or what, but I think it's a miracle that no one wadded one up.
Yeah, it's emotional just to think about it because of the obviously it was a terrible position for everybody to be in that was there, the property owners and the families that were struggling with all of the things that they were dealing with. But then for you guys to go in and risk yourselves and everything, you're
blind to it.
It doesn't.
You're totally blind to it.
I can't even comprehend.
When you pass over a spot and there's people on the ground waving their arms,
you're motivated.
The risk is gone.
Yeah,
it doesn't even cross your brain, and it's just.
How do you?
It's just up to you and your skill at that point, I guess.
How do you, knowing that the job is never done, right?
Yeah. How
do you make the decision to leave?
So when we got back to the airport, Matt from Operation Hilo, I said, we had already been doing it for a few days, and we left for dinner. We were going to come back that night. Maddie's mom, bless her heart, Susie, shout out Susie, she was watching our kids, and then it turned into a 2-3 day thing. So she's skipping work to watch the kids. And,
back home.
Yeah, and so we really had to kind of get home. And I said, Matt, is there any calls right now that are people have to, it's critical, because we've been hauling insulin around and stuff, and he just didn't have any that were this has to happen right now. So that's when all those calls seemed to subside.
Yep.
We decided to go home.
Yeah.
But it was a sad ride home in some ways.
Was there a specific experience with an individual or a particular specific flight that was one that was touching?
I think there's a couple, and I'll try not to get choked up, because when I talk about it, I do. But maybe I'll be fine right now. It's Cattail Creek is a spot out there, and man, those guys just got drugged down so bad, and we were the first people they had seen. And I remember all the people at the fire station when we landed. We were the first people they had seen since, I think it happened Friday morning, and we were there Sunday. And they asked me to go up and look at some of these houses and see if there's people on the porch or whatever. And I remember flying, and there just wasn't any houses. And those moments were hard, man. It was sad, but we just continued to help people, and it was okay. We just did what we could, and I think it was pretty cool working with some of the people that really busted their butts to help others up the hill. I remember when we landed, I asked a guy to go clear more space, because I had just landed in a spot that was so tight, and I'm like, guys, I know they were putting in X's on the road. We landed, it was so freaking tight, and I said, brother, go open up a spot up the hill. I came back, dude, this guy had cut down a square acre. I was like, how'd this guy do this in an hour?
Yeah.
People were going above and beyond, because it was a literal life or death situation, and it was that's just one of the many crazy things we saw.
How many times do people come up to you today to tell you thanks because of some connection to a direct member of their family that you had encountered or helped? That's got to be pretty incredible. I know it has to happen.
Yeah, there's been definitely a lot of indirect, a few direct. We were on the news in Miami for picking these, just a Florida couple up, that was on their vacation home, and random stuff. But I've never done anything in my life that I've been thanked so much for, and then the North Carolina helicopter flying, which is for sure not our intention. We didn't go there for this, and Greg and I talk about it all the time. It is mind blowing that it's still today. Even at Daytona, so many people came up to Greg and I and said that, and we obviously appreciate everyone's thank yous, but helicopter pilots will fly for any reason, pretty much. If my neighbor's dog is missing, I'll probably fly, because I just love to get it out.
Yeah.
So we'll do it, and especially if we get a mission where we can help people, any of us pilots, I think I speak for all helicopter pilots, we just love flying.
Yeah.
So no thank you needed. We'll do it again in a heartbeat.
Well, outside of all of that, man, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I want to know, I guess, we talked about your racing and kind of where you want to go with the ARCA deal, and that's the near term.
Mm-hmm.
You've built this persona, right, on your channel.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, there's got to be a big vision beyond YouTube, beyond what you're creating today. Or is that where you want to be? Is that where you want to live?
I don't know. I want to buy Daytona Speedway.
The whole racetrack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to build my house inside it.
Well,
and all my buddies.
I don't want to tell you that's unrealistic because I don't think that you have any limitations.
That's not my ultimate life goal. Right. It's just one of them. But I think our visions are big. I don't know where we're going to go.
Yeah.
But we're just having so much fun and
do you
trying to bring as many people with
Yeah, but
as
now,
possible.
you see yourself in network television. Do you see yourself... what is
TV? I definitely don't like. I don't mind being like the Fox thing I did last week was perfect, but TV is like there's so many moving parts and limitations. It's so slow.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe maybe you don't need to be there. Maybe where you're at is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
because you have all that freedom.
Yeah, exactly. We got all that freedom, brother.
No pun intended.
And that was one of the I had a couple questions I wanted to ask you too.
All right.
Yeah. Let me just pull them up so I don't.
I love it.
Botch
this is rare. Nobody ever has any questions for me.
All right. What is the best piece of advice you could give someone entering NASCAR on the driving side?
On the driving side, don't do what you don't know. So specifically, when you go to Daytona and Talladega, when you're going down the back straightaway and you're unsure about what to do next, sit still.
Slow down.
Just sit still.
Okay.
You don't have to slow down. Just don't do what you don't know. Don't. There needs to be a purpose and a reason for every choice you make. When you race around the racetrack in the pack, you're making multiple thousands of choices every foot, right? You're always thinking and always wondering whether I'm in the right line or should I get behind this car or whatever, right? And so if you're absolutely in the least amount unsure, sit still. And the race, there's a million variables that are going to play out over the next mile and the next 50 miles. And that choice to sit still is so insignificant, right, in the finish. So if you're unsure, don't do what you don't know. Just sit still, wait and learn, and then eventually, like, the right choice and the right thing that you might need to do will be obvious.
Okay.
And you'll go, damn, I'm glad I sat still for a minute because now I'm able to choose this.
Got it.
Right? And so there's a when we watch it, we talked about it on the show yesterday. A lot of the guys, they get to wrecking going down the back straightaway on the last lap. And they don't even give themselves a chance to get around to the finish because of the choice they made in that moment. And so some drivers, Denny Hamlin in one particular race, comes off of turn 2, leading the race, Daytona 500. There's 2 cars coming. They're 8 miles an hour faster than him. He knows he can't block them. So he doesn't throw a block because he knows it's going to be a crash. And he lets them go by. And he dives onto the tail of the second car as it passes, and he creates a run around 3 and 4 that eventually puts him in position to win the Daytona 500 at the finish line, and he wins it.
Genius.
Patience. And so a lot of people want to be active and doing and trying to always make something happen.
Yeah.
And in those races, and specifically I'm just sharing with you about Daytona and Talladega because that's what you're going to focus on for a while. A lot of times just sitting and waiting, because don't do what you don't know. Don't do something unless you really know why you're doing it. And the draft is important, and it plays a role in, the choices you make. And I would probably just say, I know that sounds boring and not as fun, but SVG, you know who SVG is, Shane?
I do.
He's from Australia, raced road courses his whole life, never ran at Daytona and Talladega before. But he will finish in the top 10 often in our Xfinity races because he sits still and he's not making problems, creating problems. He's not doing something he knows nothing about. and he's learning and letting other people make the mistakes around him. I know that what you need to do is create moments, because that's important to what you do with your channel and your content. You'll get those opportunities, right, if you are patient in racing, right? What's going to get the best views, right? You being in the mix, in the picture when the cars cross the finish line, you being one of those cars in that photo, right? So that's how you got to make sure you can get to that point, right? And if you had, not that you did anything wrong in that race, you're a victim of circumstance, but that's what you prefer, right? To be in the picture.
Okay.
And so, I think after about 2 years of running Daytona and Talladega consistently, you'll be able to really turn it loose, because then you'll start to understand the draft, and you'll start to know, okay, this is how this works.
Okay. Can I add 2 follow-up questions to
Go
that?
for it, yeah.
What would you have done in my position if you had already driven in that far and a car was spinning in front of you?
If I remember correctly, you went
I tried to go high.
High.
But she was low at first.
Yeah. So.
Just all brakes?
No, probably don't have enough brakes.
I didn't. The closure rate was too bad.
Yeah, the cars won't stop. Like a Cup car has better brakes, but your car. So it's tough to do because this is hard to articulate, but when you drive the car, you've rode in enough machines, right, to know. I think it should come to you pretty quickly. Like if you come up on a situation where a car's out of control, knowing the weight of the car, the speed it's going, whatever the scenario is with the terrain, the banking of a corner or a flat space, right?
Yeah.
Your mind is going to tell you where that car should go physics-wise, right?
Yeah, where the energy
where the
goes.
energy should send it. And I think, given the opportunity to be in that situation 2, 3, or 4 more times, you're going to make the right choice, because you're going to go, yep, this car is going up.
Yeah.
I can tell.
I should have known.
Yeah, but it's okay. When we go to Dover, and it's a self-cleaning racetrack. It's so banked. Anytime a car hits the outside wall, it comes down. It's going down a hill into the inside wall, and sometimes that's not always an obvious thing to remember when you're going around the track. And so you come up on an accident, it's not always obvious to you which way to go. And I drove left and followed that car careening off the wall down the hill into the wall.
I followed it right up.
That happens. It just happens. And so, but I think over time, when you're in those situations a few more times, you'll start to understand, all right, the energy should take this car this way, and I think choosing this direction is going to be the route.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One more on that then would be, it's not when, or it's not if, it's when. What's the best way to handle yourself if you wreck somebody and ruin their day? What do you think the best way to handle that is?
Well, like your race continues?
No, like if I screwed up, and just totally whacked two cars and take out half the field, what's the best way to handle
I would
yourself?
get out of the car and I would say, I made a mistake. That was my fault. I'm owning it. If you truly believe that, right? I would get out of the car and go, yeah, man. I mean, because people can see it, right? And maybe not a casual fan, but industry people can see it. Like other drivers, other owners that have been around the sport can go, I know what happened right there. Yeah. So don't tell me anything otherwise, right? Get out and say, hey, that was a bad choice I made, or, I lost control of the car and, it ruined their day. And that's all you can do, I think, is just kind of own it. You can go take it a step further and try to help that team if they're a small team or whatever. You can try to help them get their car back together and do some things on the back end that might
depends how bad you screw
be supportive. Yeah. So I wrecked somebody once, and I was like, damn, I caused a wreck, and they got into it accidentally. They were collateral damage, and you feel like a complete.
Yeah.
And if you can make it right outside of admitting the fault, you do whatever you can. But
okay.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Best piece of advice you'd give someone entering NASCAR on the business side?
You can spend a lot of money really quick, right? And it's not always necessary. I would get second opinions, third opinions on, if you're getting quoted for an expense, no matter what it is. I would absolutely be calling around and saying, hey, is this a fair price? Does this sound about right? Unfortunately, I think for a lot of people to be involved in racing, it comes with a cost that they have to share. They have to shoulder, right? Where you, to run that car, you had to find the partners to invest in it, right, and help you get there. But you can call Greg Biffle, or you can now call me and go, hey, this is what they quoted me for that race. Is that fair? Does that seem right? And because teams are going to try to get everything they can get, rightfully so, but maybe it doesn't have to cost that much. Maybe it's a little, maybe that, you can chop them down 5-10%, get you a little bit better deal. The best advice that I got in racing, I started a race team, and Kevin Harvick told me to keep the parts room locked.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and so there's two things that can run up the cost, and you may not have to deal with this specifically, but it's metaphorically true. I keep my parts guy is not allowed to let anybody walk in there. They walk up to the counter. They have an invoice in their hand for everything they need, and the door stays locked. I have to knock on it to get through it.
Wow.
And the radio truck at the racetrack, headsets, radios, earplugs, all that stuff, and any kind of parts truck at the racetrack, there's no open ticket.
It's locked.
Yeah. You can't walk up in there and go, I need this scanner, put it on this car, put it on this bill. And so think about that in just kind of how you might manage your motorsports venture, right? Keep everything tight financially, because expenses get out of hand, just like you experienced that already, right? In everything you do.
I do, yeah.
You have to be smart. And if you're not sort of keeping your eye on all the little things and keeping it itemized, it can get really carried away quick. And
I run it pretty loose, to be honest.
So I'd just make sure that, you don't want to get done with this year and look back and go, damn, that was $50,000 or $100,000 more than I thought.
Yeah.
Or that I was told it would be, or you know what I mean? And that can happen pretty easily.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Last advice one is best piece of advice just relating to life outside of motorsports. And I ask this because I have a lot of respect for your humble personality. You have a lot of cool race cars. You have a great family. You have an incredible building that we're in right now. And I guess I just would be curious what kind of life advice you would offer.
Well, I appreciate you asking. I hesitate to give it because it's not, I'm not perfect. I don't live that advice every day to the T. Of course, nobody is perfect. And everything that we see on social media isn't always how everything is in real life. You know that, right? And so I know you know that. And we only put the good stuff on social media.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some tough days at home, And but I would say that, golly, man, and this is, I used to tell my buddies, and it's such a silly thing. It's very cliche, but don't let the good times pass you by, right? There were so many times where my buddies called me up and were like, hey, man, we're hanging out tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man, this new video game came out. I'm going to do that. And I regret every one of those days that I didn't go and hang out. And I let a moment or an opportunity to be with my friends or spend time with a group pass me by because of some silly, trivial thing that I thought I needed to be doing in that moment. As I got older, and I get older now, I'm closer to the finish line than I am the beginning, and I think that I'm even more aware of like how these, and it's not, I'm not perfect, man. I still struggle with it. But like these silly arguments or disagreements that I might get in with family or my wife or something that's disappointing. Maybe a race didn't go the way I wanted it to, or something, a project I'm working on wasn't successful like I hoped. I got to spend less time bummed.
It doesn't really
and
matter.
Bothered. Yeah, because I'm wasting time.
I try to hold myself to that too.
Yeah.
I feel it about a couple days later. I'm like, why was I so upset about
I
that?
still do it. I still don't. I don't adhere to that. But God, I hate. And I'll get in some things. I'll get in some moods, right? Or I'll have a rough couple of days over something.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of it, and I'm going, God, I gotta drop this.
Feel that, yeah.
You know, I am wasting time.
Okay.
I want to be happy.
Yeah.
I want to make memories with my girls. I want to go hang with my friends. I want to be on the gas every day, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not. I'm not that. But I want that, and that's like how I try to live. I wished I would have been that way when I was younger. I mean, I ran hard, but you know, I did take some days off.
Yeah.
You know, and just didn't do anything for the sake of doing nothing. And I wish I would have been. I wish I would have traveled the world more when I was younger. Okay. I really didn't get that bug until later.
Yeah.
But you got to get out, man.
Okay. And a real quick question.
You can always tell me. You don't need that advice because you're already.
Well, I love to hear this stuff. And tell me if this is getting too personal. No. You have 2 kids, right? Mm-hmm. Do you wish you had more?
I don't. Okay. Now that could change, right? I'm still Nicole's 2, Nicole's 4, and Isla's 6, and the way I looked at it was, you know, I thought that I couldn't love anyone more than my wife, or I thought I couldn't love harder, I guess is the way to put that. I thought that I was loving to my max, with Amy, and then she, you know, when she gave birth to Isla, my love for Amy like went up another notch.
I know.
Damn, man, I can't believe
I
you
remember
did
that feeling in the delivery room.
Yes.
It's like, I love you so much.
And I'm like, I can't believe that you and I made this, and you are the one that
it's a mind-blowing feeling.
It's hard.
It's so primitive.
Yes, it is. And then, you know, your love for your kids is another level of love that you didn't realize you had in you. And so I kind of been riding that high, and I mean, after 2, I was kind of like, hey, man, I'm happy.
That's kind of how we feel. Yeah. But I was just curious, you know, you have a similar lifestyle, and I would love to. I just want to. I
really am good, you know, where we are, and I think that, I mean, the other thing too, I'll tell you, my age, right? I worry about, you know, my girls when they graduate. I'll be in my late 60s, you know, when they're going through graduation and into college and things like that. And I'm like, man, you know, I don't know how this will sound, but I felt like having kids at my age. I know what it's like to lose your parent when you're young, right? And even in your 20s, you're not really prepared for like losing that rudder, you know, or that guidance. Yeah. And so I felt like, shoot, man, I don't want to bring a child into this world and then leave them in their early 20s or even earlier. You know, I don't know what's guaranteed for me. And so I was thinking about that too. So
it's a tough perspective.
It is a tough perspective, and it's selfish maybe, but I don't know. I was just like, hey, I'm lucky to have figured it out. I was stupid for waiting as long as I did to like figure it out and get my life into this position. I should have married Amy way sooner. I should have started our family sooner. I shouldn't have waited for that because I thought, man, I got to do more wild shit. I want to just have fun and race, and I'm selfish, and I want to do what I want to do. I ain't answering to nobody, and I ain't living by nobody else's rules and no compromising. It's very selfish. Yeah. But I wish I'd have figured that out sooner. So, because I got buddies that are my age, and they're like, my daughter's going to college. And I'm like, damn, I wish my daughter was going to college. You know, I mean, I wish I would have.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
But you're also in such a good time. Like
I'm loving, dude, I love where I'm at. But I should have figured this out sooner.
Okay.
I guess, okay.
All right, I gotcha. George was wondering if you eat liver mush.
Hell yes.
Really?
Hell yes.
He's a liver mush. What the hell's liver mush?
Dude, I don't care.
Can you give me a quick description of the ingredients?
No, I mean, I probably could pull it up, but I don't want to know. Let me tell you, man, when people are different, everybody cuts it different. But when you cut it thin and you get it almost
that's literally what he says.
Cut it thin, cook it crispy.
Oh my god.
Oh damn, it's good.
All right.
Mustard, liver mush with mustard and toast, or regular.
Big North Carolina thing. If you don't know what liver mush is, you should look it up.
Holy,
it's interesting stuff.
It is so good.
Is it true?
Amy even eats it. Amy's she never heard of it, and she would not eat it. She's like, hell,
I gotta try it again. If Amy eats it, I gotta try it again.
She finally ate some, and she's like, yep, she'll cook it every now and then. I get so proud when she cooks it.
Is it true that Dale your father flew over your house party with a helicopter to shine a spotlight on the party?
Yeah, ran everybody off.
That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
It wasn't great in the moment. I used to race on Saturdays in the Xfinity Series, and I think it might have been like Darlington or Martinsville is a close track where Dad would helicopter back and forth. And so I ran my race. It wasn't Martinsville. We didn't race the Xfinity there, so it might have been Darlington. I ran my race, and I'd already planned this. So like Friday or so, I'm like, all right, boys, let's get the beer. We go shop. We get the beer. We got the whole basement. I got a club in my basement. We got everything ready. And, man, when I get home, don't start without me, but when I get home, we're going to be raising hell.
Yeah.
And tell everybody. And we just had a lot of people that we knew around town, friends and
so
folks.
It's popping.
Yeah. And so when I would get home from the race.
Well, what year is this?
This is 98, 99.
This is the prime.
Yeah. I'd get home from the race around 8, 9 o'clock, and we would just crank the music and start partying, and everybody'd show up. And for whatever reason, it was probably like midnight or something, man. We're right in the middle of it. Probably about 40, 50 people. He comes helicopters around the house, and he's not flying it, but he's in the passenger seat. And they're nosing that thing around the house. And everybody's parked their cars out in this field next to the house. And he's flying that thing around, and everybody runs out of the house. We're in the basement. Everybody runs out of the basement door and to their cars and jumps.
Why'd they run?
They're like,
you guys...
Well, they were like, Dad, Dale's home. They thought he was going to land.
They thought Dale was
pissed. Thought he was going to land and come in there and raise hell or something. I don't know.
What helicopter was it? Do you remember?
He had a Bell.
Bell 407 or something?
I think so.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he just flew it around, then he went and landed, but like probably 80% of the people hauled ass. It was nothing but taillights out the driveway. He loved it. He thought it was hilarious.
That's awesome.
He
That's
had
such
that
a cool
kind
story.
of control.
What do you think of the quote, "Do it for Dale"?
I love it. And when, all these years later, I said this when he passed away, and I said it for probably a decade or so. Everybody be like, what's your thoughts on losing your dad? And I'd go, my fear is that he'll one day just be forgotten with time. My worry would be that he would just disappear into the distance, right?
Yeah.
As we get further and further removed from his career. I was like, I just hope he's never forgotten because he left such an impact on the sport. And so that kind of thing is the staying power. That is the reminder to me, like that he resonated with people.
Now that you say that, I would say that he has the most long-standing legendary status of any real motorsports driver.
Maybe.
I think he does.
And so when I hear things like that, it's like, he still matters.
I say it at the end of every one of my videos. Every YouTube video I've ever had.
Yeah.
Maybe a few I've missed, but I always just say, thanks for watching. Do it for Dale.
I love it.
See you later.
Yeah. Do it for Dale is like a nod to Dad and his legacy, and it's tasteful. It's I'm thankful.
Well, I'm glad you like it. And I know I'm not the one who invented it. I just I think it's a great saying. It's like a lifestyle. My buddy Justin Keith said it to me one time, and I was like, do it for Dale.
Yeah.
It's literally, that's kind of like how we live our lives.
Yes.
It's like, we're just doing it for Dale.
That's right.
That's cool. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, I do. I appreciate it.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
It has, man. I've always, I've been following you for several years now. And when you bought the track, I was really kind of so curious and interested in what you were doing. And it's been a lot of fun learning who you are, and to be able to have you here today to actually talk to you is very, very special for me.
It's an honor for me.
Well, I appreciate that you feel that way. I'm thankful for how you view my father and how you've incorporated some of those things into what you've done, and I appreciate your respect for that. I'm glad that you came and raced in the ARCA race and you shined a light on our sport, and I'm glad that you're going to try to do more. It's been a great experience, man. You're a good dude.
Cool. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you.
It means a lot coming from you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Cleetus McFarland on the Dale Jr. Download.
Do it for Dale.
That was a great conversation with Cleetus McFarland. And I'd been following him for a while. And, of course, I watch a little bit of YouTube. Like I said, when I get home and I'm sitting on the couch, I will fire that up. And instead of, like, watching, regular television, like I watch both, but it's just interesting to me, I think, how YouTube's become a bigger part of how I might spend that time. And so I see a lot of his stuff, and I'm like, it's pretty interesting. And he's a cool guy that has fun on his stuff, and yeah, it's easy to watch. And then he gets the track, and I'm like, the first time I saw him, I think I was watching because of the truck. He has this Goodwrench number 3 truck, and then he buys the track, and obviously, I was like, wow, what's he gonna do with that? But just fun to talk to him and kind of learn about what his processes are and what's important to him and how he has prodded along and made this such a success. And we got some breaking news.
We did.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah,
a little teaser as to what to come.
What was your favorite part, Andrew?
I actually thought it was really cool that last 30 minutes where he wanted to pick your brain. Y'all ended up getting into like a life conversation.
Yeah.
It was, that to me was pretty neat because it was just seemed very down to earth, and it just seemed like a really neat just life conversation. Hey, soak up all the good moments. Like that's what it's all about,
I think so. I'm not great at life, and I have my bad days, and so it's hard to be giving out advice because I don't know that I follow my own advice a lot, but it doesn't mean you don't know, what you should be doing, how you should be approaching every day. And so it was fun to have that conversation with him. I really was curious, I think, about the when did he realize, I guess, that I'm going to fully commit to this YouTube deal, and then once he makes that commitment, then he starts seeing the success, and he's like, all right, now I can make a living doing this, right? And that wasn't even a sustainable idea. 2009 when he started the channel.
Yeah.
Not many people were like, "Yep, gonna make a living creating content like this," but he just, he stuck with it. And didn't hear him too talk about how, it's a lot of critical moments and a lot of critical people. That was interesting because I wanted to know that. There is going to be absolutely a point anytime you're in the middle of creating or building something where a lot of people are going to tell you it's a bad idea or it's a waste of time or it's something you don't need to put any effort or energy into. And he saw that through. But I guess living it out in a social world, living out that idea in the world of social media. Whew. Not many people can stay the course when all they hear is, I don't like it, not good enough, you're not right, you're not good, you're no good, this is no good.
Well, and on the opposite side of that, when everything's going right, he's got a big following now, but he said the biggest mistake is you let off the gas.
Yeah.
So it's just like staying true to yourself seems to be, that's obviously people recognize authenticity, but and that's critical, I think, to building something like he did.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I imagine it's kind of like a band that has had a lot of success, and he may not be this way, but he seems like the kind of guy that he's an adrenaline junkie and a thrill seeker, and I think that he's always going to come up with fun ideas that you're going to want to see through and tap into. But then there will be these moments where he's like, I'm tired of doing these things. I want to try this new stuff. Anytime a band has had a ton of success, changes their sound, man, people are like, whoa, this ain't give me back my old band. But he's going to have, I mean, imagine if I were him, I would have those moments where I'm like, man, I'm ready to branch out. I'm ready to do something completely different. I need a new challenge. He's a great example of how YouTube has become must-see content. There's this guy over in Europe that's been renovating this chateau that burned down, and the bones of the thing are still standing, and he's documented this daily, everything he's doing for a couple of years now, and I've seen at least 75% of the content. I'm like, watched that much of it. And every day there's like a 20-minute clip that he posts of everything they did and worked on that day trying to put this chateau back together. And he's doing it literally on his YouTube salary. You know, he's doing nothing else all day but working on this chateau. And I've been fascinated not only by, obviously, the project he's working on, but how he runs his channel, what he shares with us, what's important for him that day to show. There's other stuff, too, that I think is fascinating where I'll see there's this one kid that I was watching, and he kept buying old boats. Like he bought this, I'm just throwing numbers. I don't know the true numbers, but like he bought a 25-foot cheap boat, renovated it, used it for a year, sold it, bought a 35-foot dilapidated boat, renovated it, used it for a year or two, sold it. Then he bought a 45, and now he's in this like big 60-foot, but it was junk. Nobody wanted it, and he rebuilt the guts of it, the motor and everything, got it running, and now he's running all over the world, right, creating content. And there's people that just go and sail for years and just document their sailing adventures, right, and the problems and challenges. And so the content on YouTube, man, it's interesting how it's all reality TV, but it's not scripted. Right, and it's pretty fun, and you can't help but put yourself like, man, why can't I do that? Or what? Man, that sounds fun. That seems fun. Gosh, this person dropped everything they were doing, and now they're just sailing the Caribbean for the next 4 years or however long they want to do this. Right, creating content wherever it is you want to go and be, and people are just doing it. I think we all spent so many years of our childhood growing up in our towns and watching everybody just do what they do. You get a job, you live, you work, and you come home. And now we're living in a world where people are just deciding what they want and going and doing that, wherever that is, right? Or not adhering to this sort of,
societal norms.
Yeah. It's pretty neat. And he's a great example of that. He adheres to no norms, right?
I mean, just looking through his YouTube channel, I'm just trying to think, like, how would he describe what his YouTube channel is? Yeah. And it's just like, then this is meant as a compliment, but just like doing cool random redneck.
I got close to asking him that. Like, give me the short synopsis of what it is.
You
describe your work to an advertiser.
Right.
Yeah. Anyhow, really cool, a lot of fun. Again, man, I love when we get these non-racing stories in here, and I know he's got some connections to motorsports, but his identity is that YouTube content creator, and fascinating to be able to get him in here and have a conversation. So thank you, Cleetus McFarland, for spending some time with us today. It's time for the white flag. All right, the white flag. Actions detrimental and door bumper clear recorded on Monday. DBC had Bubba Wallace and Butterbean on the show. Denny had a lot to say after the race at Daytona. You won't want to miss that one. Actions detrimental and door bumper clear. Must listens for this week. Yesterday, we did our Dirty Air show, recapping everything from Daytona to the Junior Motorsports debut and the Daytona 500. And me and TJ had a lot of fun talking about all that. IRS Junior and Dirty Modo segment was a lot of fun as well. Today, Herman Schrader drops along with a new episode of Speed Street. And then tomorrow, Amy and I will have a new episode of Bless Your Heart. Plus, Dirty Mo Media is launching an all-new e-commerce merch line. You know, we've had merch in the past, but we got a whole newly designed line. Awesome Dale Jr. download merch, as well as much, much more. Go to shop.dirtymomedia.com. Shop.dirtymomedia.com. Check out all the new stuff. Let me know what you like. Tell me what's your favorite. Tell me something I should wear on the show. I'll do it. We'll see you next time.